Hello, everyone. I have something I need to talk about. So, like any normal person, I whipped out my phone, hooked up my mic, and I'm here to post it on the internet. Listen, would you believe me if I told you Netflix somehow hasn't run out of ideas for more dating shows? Let me help you understand why this is absolutely outrageous. Love is Blind, Perfect Match, Too Hot to Handle, Love on the Spectrum, The Circle, The Ultimatum. These are just a few dating shows Netflix has on the platform right now with multiple seasons. Well, a hot new bombshell has entered the villa.
A brand new bombshell is entering the villa.
Okay, I know that's not Netflix, but you get the point. Introducing Age of Attraction. But before we dive in, how is everyone doing today? I hope you're doing well and ready to yap because I know I am. If you're new here, my name is Cheyenne and this is my little corner on a big platform, Shy Central. If you haven't noticed, this is only my second video on this channel, so if I could just ask a couple things of you, any comments you have regarding recommendations, suggestions, ideas are greatly appreciated in this time of getting to know what I want to do with this channel and the route I want to take. So of course, as you are the ones watching, I want to hear anything you want to see, any recommendations you have for lighting, the way I edit, anything. Please, please, please comment. And since you'll be in that vicinity anyway, if I could just ask if you like what we have to talk about today, go ahead and like the video. And if you want to see more, please subscribe because I have so many ideas for what I want to do with this channel and videos I want to make. So please, if you want to stick around to see that, go ahead and subscribe. But without further ado, let's gab about some age gaps. Whew, okay. Age of Attraction. This show already has so much drama coming out about it. I mean, I was actually researching and watching Love is Blind season 10 for a YouTube video similar to this, but I completely abandoned that for the time being just so I could hop into whatever the train wreck is of Age of Attraction. Just so we can get to know the show a little bit better, I'm actually going to read directly from Netflix's website of what they describe Age of Attraction to be. Age of Attraction is throwing out the rulebook and birth dates when it comes to modern dating. In the bold new series, which is streaming now, singles build connections based purely on chemistry, compatibility, and an undeniable spark that has nothing to do with the year they graduated high school. In this dating experiment, there's only one question they can't ask. How old are you? In Age of Attraction, when a couple feels ready to level up, they'll commit to each other before revealing their ages. If they choose to move forward, the pair will then test their connection in the real world. Okay, so now that we have Netflix's definition, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I consider the show to be in my own personal opinion on it. Before we dive in, first and foremost, I want to preface by saying everything I mention in the video is my personal opinion. I understand this is a reality show, so everything cannot be taken as fact. And if anyone disagrees with me or even agrees and we want to have some discussions in the comments, please do so. I just ask that we are respectful of each other's opinions. So how do I feel about this show? I think we would all be lying to ourselves if we didn't know what the political climate is right now when it comes to predators and PDFs, if you know what I mean. So I do find it strange that Netflix decided to release a show promoting age gaps in our current year 2026 with the current political climate. I think it was honestly very tone deaf, and I think that was intentional. Personally, allegedly, I think they see how much this would have been controversial, and maybe they used that to promote a show, which I think is really greedy considering how popular their other dating shows are. As we talked about before, Love is Blind season 10 just came out. It is all over social media because of how drama-filled this season was. I mean, we're going to get into it a little bit more, but the first episode's title is literally, Is Age Just a Number? I mean, tell me that doesn't feel gross to you. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I really don't think I am. And I think if you say I'm overthinking it or reading too much into it, maybe you live under a rock. Have you seen what is going on in the world? How are we okay with Netflix releasing a television show about age gaps and promoting and calling it healthy to have an age gap? Now, I will say, I know age gap relationships exist in a healthy manner, and not every single relationship with an age gap is predatory, is toxic, is unhealthy. I understand that, and please do not take my words and twist them when I say Netflix is promoting age gaps and that is a negative thing. But I think that's all I really wanted to discuss before we actually dive into the episode. I'm really excited to talk about what I noticed and captured during my first watch of episode 1. And I do want to say, only 5 episodes have been released as of the day I'm filming this. I am watching it as they come out, so I'm trying to make this as my first impression as possible. This is in no way an analysis or a deep dive of the actual show front to back, because I have not seen the show front to back yet. Alrighty, so let's get into it. Let's just start out again. Episode 1 is titled, Is Age Just a Number? So the episode starts with the girls and guys getting off a plane and going into a retreat. They start to sit around this outdoor seating area. Once everyone is seated, the 2 hosts come out and talk about the goal of the show and the plan for the upcoming days and weeks. Now, the reason this is not the Lachey's is because they needed hosts with an age gap. If you know anything about Netflix dating shows, they love Nick and Vanessa Lachey. Those are usually their go-to hosts for these kind of reality TV dating shows. But for this one, they needed hosts with an age gap. So we get Nick Viall and Natalie Joy. When the hosts are talking about the goal of the show, they do say the goal is to date and commit without ever knowing how old your partner is. Something I found similar to the other Netflix dating show, Love is Blind. There is a question that they constantly bring up throughout the show. So with Love is Blind, the question is simply, is love blind? And in this new show, the question is, does age matter when it comes to love? As I discussed before, the hosts do have an age gap. They are married with an 18-year age gap. And Nick Viall talks about his reservations at first when it came to their age difference. And Natalie says, to us, age is just a number. Now, as I talked about a little bit in the beginning when it came to the episode title, I think saying things such as age is just a number can unfortunately be a predator's wet dream. And something that backs my claim is almost all the men in the audience cheer when Natalie says, to us, age is just a number. I don't see a lot of women reacting, and all the men are cheering. Unfortunately, I did get icky vibes when Natalie says, to us, age is just a number, and almost every man in the audience cheered. Yeah! When discussing the goal of the show, I do think they took a little bit of inspiration from other dating shows, maybe not even their own. Love Island, for example, or to bring it back to Netflix, Too Hot to Handle. And the reason I think this is because when they're talking about how the next couple days and weeks will work, they discuss how basically the single members can choose anyone they're drawn to, and the one rule is they cannot ask how old they are, but other than that, they can go on dates, they can talk about anything they want to. Literally, the only rule is they cannot ask how old they are. Once they have made a connection with someone, they can invite them into something called the promise room. In the promise room, they will exchange promise rings of sorts and commit to each other, and this all happens before they reveal their ages. You got a little cat cameo there. Once they reveal their ages, they have an option to leave the retreat together as a couple. Again, they do commit to each other before revealing their ages, but they do have the option to leave the retreat single if one person or both feel like they do not want to continue the relationship into the real world, now knowing their age. Now, the reason the promise room is such a big deal is because once you go to the promise room with someone, you cannot go back into the retreat to make another connection. So if you're in the retreat and you haven't gone to the promise room, you can make as many connections as you want. But say you go to the promise room with somebody, you hear their age, and you decide not to commit to them into the next phase, you cannot go back into the retreat. You have to leave single. So again, if they exchange rings, they reveal their age, and they decide to leave the retreat together as a couple, they will then move into the next stage, which is moving in together and introducing each other to their friends and family. Now that the hosts have explained the game plan, they leave and let the single members mingle and do a little bit of a speed dating situation. And just like any other reality show, you get certain confessionals and you get to hear from certain people more than others as they become more relevant throughout the show. So our first main character is Libby. In Libby's confessionals, she talks about how when people hear their age, they immediately put her in a box and assume that she doesn't know what she wants with her life. She talks about how she is interested in dating older men, but this whole experience is pretty nerve-wracking. Now, I want to give my first impression of Libby when we hear her confessionals and we start to see her dating some of the men. And I'm going to add a clip of one of her dates from this speed dating event just to back up why I'm saying what I'm saying. Now, my first impression of Libby is I honestly couldn't tell if she just had really dry humor or if she was a little ditzy. And I'm not even saying that to be mean. I have met multiple people that have really dry humor and they come across as ditzy. So I really couldn't get a read of her at first. Those were my initial impressions. Now, what I'm going to show is Libby at the speed dating event, and she is on a date with this man named David. As she's talking to David, she mentions that she's a Taylor Swift fan, and David asks if she's gone to any of her shows. Libby does say she's been to one of her shows, and David responds with just one. Like, he seems shocked she's only gone to one because she's such a huge Taylor Swift fan. Now, Libby's response to this is one not enough? Like, do people go to more than just one? And this is kind of what solidified my opinion of her, or my first impression, I should say, of if she was either really ditzy or has super dry humor. This did make me lean more towards she just has really super dry humor.
You probably hate this, but I love Taylor Swift.
Love. Swiftie.
Yeah, can't lie.
Don't be ashamed. Yeah.
Not ashamed.
Okay, how many shows of hers have you seen?
Just one.
Oh.
Just
Wait,
one.
okay, so you're a huge Swiftie, but you've only been to one show. You don't like going to shows?
Does the average person go to more than one?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I actually was discussing this conversation with my girlfriend, and she did mention how maybe because of this man's age or because he's not a Taylor Swift fan, he doesn't realize how expensive Taylor Swift tickets are. And I don't think he realized a Taylor Swift ticket could cost anywhere from $300 to maybe even over $1,000, depending on how close you want to be and your area. So that is kind of my analysis of this conversation and my first impression of Libby. I will also state to me, Libby appeared to be super young. Now, I am 24, and she did seem like she was probably around my age, maybe even a little younger. So I immediately clocked that she's probably on the younger side of this group of people. Moving on, we get another star of the show. His name is Tristan. I don't know how to be polite about Tristan, but personally, I think Tristan is a dirtbag. Again, these are first impressions. This is not an analysis of the entire show, so he could turn around, but my first impression is he's a dirtbag, and let me tell you why. He says in his confessionals that he's really into older women and he loves busty blondes. It is not a crime to be into older women or to have a preference of hair color or body type, but I do think when you're on a show about age gaps, maybe you have an ulterior motive. That's just my opinion.
That's my opinion!
So lo and behold, he talks with this woman named Erin, and Erin does appear to be a little bit older, and she is blonde. I'm not going to comment on Erin's body type by saying if she was busty or not and fit into that category of Tristan's type. They're chatting at the speed dating event and they seem to be hitting it off. In Tristan's confessionals, he even says their chemistry is hot and he could very much see himself leaving with Erin at the end of this retreat. Our next questionable character is Andrew. How do I be polite about Andrew?
Be nice.
I'm finding it.
It take you that long to find it?
It does.
I'll just say the facts and you can form your own opinion. Andrew says he has 2 daughters, and in the same breath he says he likes to date younger women. Great combination, Andrew. I can't see how that's problematic at all. And next he says in his confessionals that he likes to date younger women for all the wrong reasons, but he's trying to turn over a new leaf. Jail, Andrew. What do you mean you are dating women for all the wrong reasons? You're dating younger women for all the wrong reasons. Let's not skip over that important word, younger women.
They put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing.
Now, I wish the producers would have questioned him a little bit more on that phrasing, because I was super interested to hear how you could date a younger woman for all the wrong reasons. Anybody else? Anybody else concerned? Perfect. Well, let's put a pin in Andrew for now. We will unfortunately be coming back to him, but moving on, we have our next character, Justin. Now, I could not get a read on Justin either. At first, I really didn't like him, but then as I was filming this video, I actually found myself rewatching clips and rewatching the show, obviously, to get information here, and I thought maybe my first impression was off base. At first, I thought Justin came off as a little bit of a serial killer. He was really quiet, really reserved, and to me, that came off as a red flag. But as we went on throughout the episode, I actually found myself agreeing with him and kind of understanding where he was coming from. So, again, first impressions, he is very quiet, very reserved, and we actually talk about that a little bit more as he makes a connection with someone, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. In Justin's first confessionals, he does mention that he was married for 5 years when he was a little younger, and he was wildly in love with this woman, but they did split. He does say that it was for the best, but he does seem like he doesn't want to talk about it. It still kind of hits close to home, so I did feel a little bit bad for Justin in this case. Again, we're going to put a pin in Justin because that's really the only introduction we get for him. So moving on, we're going to be talking about our next main character, Teresa. Now, can I just say, I thought Teresa seemed really sweet in her confessionals. Teresa tells us she's been married twice and she's had some pretty bad relationships, and so she feels like she's at a point in her life now where She deserves something that is right for her. And her and this guy, John, who we actually have not talked about yet, seem to hit it off at the speed dating event. We don't really hear a lot from John. The only confessional we get so far is that he says he really likes Teresa and definitely wants to follow up with her the next day. Now, those are the only introductions we get during the speed dating event. The speed dating wraps up and the hosts come back out and ask how everyone's doing. Now, the hosts do say there will be an activity board in the retreat that lists adventures. I am not making that up. That is the word they use, adventures. It will list adventures each day with certain people's names under that activity. But moving on, we actually cut to the next day, and our first interaction we get to see is with John and Teresa, who we left off with at the speed dating event the night before. John and Teresa are drinking some coffee, and they're chatting, and Teresa drops the news that she has 3 kids. Now, I will give John the benefit of the doubt here. Teresa did not in any way, shape, or form prepare him for this news. It seems like it just came up and she spilled it very nonchalantly, and he was very clearly shocked. They're basically just talking about her dogs, and John asks why one of her dogs' name is Boomer, and she plainly says, "One of my kids named him. I have 3 kids, by the way." Oh.
My other dog's name is Boomer.
After.
My daughter named him. I have 3 kids. P.S.
Okay. All right.
John genuinely seems flabbergasted, and while Teresa does look a little older, I just don't think he was prepared to be talking about kids so soon into their connection. Now, buckle up, Buttercup, because Teresa says in her confessionals she's actually worried that John may be too young for her, considering all 3 of her kids are in their 20s. Yikes. Now, you remember Justin, who we talked about before? Well, he actually connected with this woman named Vanelle, so we get the introduction to Vanelle here. Vanelle says she enjoys how calm and quiet Justin is compared to the other guys that are in the group. Again, mentioning my previous first impression, I genuinely thought this was a red flag, him being so calm and reserved, but as we go on throughout the episode, my opinion changed on that. But Vanelle seems to have liked that quality about him. In their conversation, Vanelle asks Justin if he is a relationship person, to which Justin says he is, and he actually is not built for the hookup culture that society is currently in. Justin then asks Vanelle if she has kids, to which she says she doesn't have kids, but she is definitely open to having them once she's married. She says that she is very flexible on the idea of having kids. If her partner wants kids, she would be glad to have them, and if her partner didn't want kids, she would be content throughout life without children.
So my partner, if they want kids, I will want kids.
Yeah.
If they don't want kids, I'm okay with having kids.
Wow, okay.
So
You don't meet a lot of women that are like flexible in that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very binary.
yeah. What
nice.
about you?
Now, at first, I did not react well to Justin's response, and here's where, again, my opinion of him changed as I was researching for the video rather than just taking notes while watching. Now, at first glance, I thought his response to Vanelle came off a little backhanded towards other women who maybe he had spoken to who said they did not want kids, and they were very solid on that point. They did not want kids and they were not flexible on that. And at first I thought his response was shady regarding that, but that is just a preconceived idea I had. This does not mean it is true. And after looking at it from a different point of view, I thought, no, that's probably not what he meant. Let me know in the comments if maybe my first impression was more spot on, or if my current perspective might be a little bit more on base. In his confessionals, Justin does choke up at the conversation of kids because he is very clearly a little older, and he tells us in his confessionals that due to his age and not currently being in a relationship, he has had to welcome the idea that he may never have kids in his life. I did feel pretty bad for him while he was discussing this, and I think this is ultimately what changed my opinion on his response to Vanelle. All right, enough with the chit-chatting over coffee and tea. We're getting into our summer camp activity. I mean, not summer camp. We're getting into our retreat activity, and the first activity is whitewater rafting. Now, two people we have previously discussed are hitting it off during our whitewater rafting activity, and of course, it is Andrew, the man who says he dates younger women for all the wrong reasons, and the woman I said seemed to be the youngest on the spectrum of ages, Libby. While they are whitewater rafting, we get Andrew in a confessional saying he really likes Libby, and Libby is someone he would usually go for back in his normal life. And he says it's because Libby's just blonde and young and fun and young. Now, of course, he does not say it that way, but that is how I interpreted it. Yeah, Andrew, you're not fooling me for 1 second. We know you want Libby because she is clearly the youngest and or one of the youngest in the group. Allegedly. After the whitewater rafting activity, Andrew and Libby sit by the fire and chat a little bit, and this is where Andrew mentions to Libby the fact that he has 2 daughters. Again, it's really hard for me to read Libby. At first, I thought she seemed excited that he had kids, and I do know a lot of younger women who do enjoy being a stepmother or just enjoy their partner being a father because it is something that maybe they see as attractive. I'm not saying this is what Libby thinks or her as a person. That is just my day-to-day life. I have seen that, and that is my first impression of her taking in that news. But she does mention in her confessionals that that is pretty nerve-wracking. 2 kids, I mean, she's very clearly young, and maybe she is not ready to have kids. But she tells Andrew to his face that she likes kids, and being a stepmom and him having children isn't the scariest thing in the world to her. Now, moving on from Andrew and Libby, we go back to Vanelle, and Vanelle actually has another connection away from Justin, and his name is Jorge. Now, we have not met Jorge yet, so just to give a little bit about him, Jorge says in his confessionals that he is divorced with 2 kids. Jorge honestly seems a little stiff to me, and I do think that is because he is a criminal defense attorney. And I think maybe that's just the occupation has caused him to be a little more stiff and not as relaxed as we're used to seeing in these reality TV shows. So honestly, I didn't see anything substantial in Vanelle and Jorge's discussion. I think really the main thing was getting Jorge introduced, and that's what we did here. And Vanelle mentions in her confessionals that she does have her 2 connections, one with Justin and one with Jorge, but right now it doesn't seem like connection number 1 and connection number 2. It seems very in the middle. Now, going back to our couple from the beginning of the day, John and Teresa, they actually go on a date in the retreat, and they sit around a campfire and drink some wine. Now, while they're sitting around the fire, John does tell Teresa that he wanted to be a professional baseball player growing up, and he actually could not do so due to an injury. And honestly, I think because I was watching Love is Blind season 10 prior to watching this, I had a little bit of a negative reaction to this because of Alex in Love is Blind. If you don't know who Alex is, just to give a little bit of a background, Alex was pretty hated on the show due to his inconsistent timeline of his life before the show and his just demeanor, I think. Now, Alex consistently talks about how he was supposed to be a professional soccer player. He was supposed to be drafted. He was supposed to be, I think he says like number 7 or number 5 in the draft. And unfortunately, due to a knee injury, he was not able to play professional soccer after college. Now, the reason this puts a bad taste in my mouth is because I researched a little bit about Alex outside of the show because I did want to do a YouTube video on it. And I still plan on doing it, so stay tuned for that. But It seems like Alex, and again, this is alleged, this is just what I was able to find. It seems like Alex did not play soccer until college and only played for 4 years before he got injured and then never played professionally. So why he consistently brings up the fact that he was supposed to be a professional soccer player, and he says even sometimes he's an ex-professional soccer player, is mind-boggling. And it seems like, buddy, you have no other personality traits. Go get a hobby. But anyway, this is not reflective of my opinion on John. This is just a negative thing I had in the front of my mind while watching the show. So when he mentioned that he was supposed to be a professional baseball player and unfortunately could not continue that dream due to an injury, I immediately turned negative and I was in hater mode, okay? But they basically just show this so they can show that Teresa and John are bonding, and Teresa actually opens up to John and tells him that she had a brother who unfortunately died when she was 18 years old. She does not want to talk about it at this point in time, but you can tell it is a very sensitive subject, and John cares very deeply for Teresa and respects her boundary of not wanting to elaborate further right now. And because of this vulnerability, they actually get the first kiss of the season. They kiss after opening up about their destroyed baseball career and family trauma and grief. And it's a beautiful moment, I do have to say. I am a Teresa and John stan right now, so I was very excited when they had the first kiss of the season. And with that, we move on to the next day. So our next activity is actually a wine tasting. And in this activity, we actually have a couple of our main characters who we've been talking about. So we're going to go quickly through those. So the first interaction we get to see is Aaron and Tristan. Now, this was a doozy. This was a hard watch, if I'm being honest. Tristan is being super flirty with Aaron during the activity, and it actually cuts to Aaron in her confessionals saying that she understands she's here to date men of all ages, but she does have a 21-year-old nephew, and she cannot help but think of her nephew when talking with Tristan. He's just a little too young for her. But to put an even worse taste in your mouth, Tristan's confessionals, he actually, and I need you to really, really focus with me, okay?
And you're gonna wanna sit down for this video.
Tristan tells us that his mom is only 19 years older than him. So she was 19 years old when she had him. And he says, if you aren't as hot as his mom, he's not going to marry you.
Take a minute. Take it in.
Now, why we are comparing attractiveness of our future partners with our mother, I don't know. Who asked him to say that? Did the producers prompt him to say that? Please say we're joking. Please say this is something to get a headline, because I do not want to believe in my heart of hearts this guy just said if you're not as hot as his mom, he won't marry you. Anyway, but thank goodness for our OTP, John and Teresa. They're also at this event, and the cameras immediately cut to them to get that terrible, terrible, terrible taste out of my mouth. John says in his confessionals that Teresa is slowly but surely checking off every box for him, and he says the sweetest thing I think I have ever heard on reality TV. He says if he could bottle up the way Teresa makes him feel and sell it, he would. Now, moving on from John and Teresa and Aaron and Tristan, we move into Vanelle and Justin, who are also on this activity. Vanelle actually says she's excited to have this activity with Justin to really see if they're compatible. They chat a little bit, and Justin looks like he's about to kiss her. He looks like he's about to lean in. And Vanelle catches this too, and she seems so giddy. She is over here, oh my God, Justin! But they do kiss. Justin leans in, he kisses her, and it is a pretty lengthy kiss. I feel like we got a very PG-13 version of Teresa and John's kiss. That is not Justin and Vanelle. Justin and Vanelle are not full on making out, but they're definitely having a good little lengthy kiss. After this kiss, Vanelle says in her confessionals she very much sees herself in a love triangle between her, Jorge, and Justin. And that's all we get of that day. We cut to the next day, and Teresa says she's ready to take Justin to the promise room. Now, reminder, this is where they reveal ages. This is where you cannot go back into the retreat. If you hear how old your partner is and you don't want to continue, you have to leave the retreat single. Teresa says she's ready to commit to John, and she's ready. She wants to do it. In the promise room, Teresa expresses to John how safe he makes her feel and how she's just really grateful they've gotten to know each other so well in such a short amount of time. John reciprocates and says he feels really at ease with her and he definitely wants to be a trustworthy and reliable partner for her. And they agree to commit to each other. They put on the promise rings and they're about to reveal how old they are. And as soon as we're about to hear Teresa's age, the episode ends. Cliffhanger. They do a little bit of a preview, like what's to come for the season. And honestly, it looks like it's going to be a very juicy season. So I guess we'll have to find out. I will definitely be covering more of the season. I actually have already seen episode 2 and that's it. I've only seen episode 2, so I do need to watch the other episodes, and as they're coming out, I will be keeping up with that. So if this is something you want to hear more of, definitely comment down below, as I said before, to let me know so we can continue this journey. Now, just to bring it all back in a little bit, obviously, I am a sucker for reality TV. I do love a good dating show every now and then when I just want to melt my brain after my 9-to-5 corporate job. But don't forget what I said in the beginning. I think this is a terrible idea for a show. I do not understand why Netflix would have done this if not just for controversy. And in that same breath, again, don't forget, I do think there can be healthy age gap relationships. I do not think age gap relationships are always predatory, are always toxic. But we have to understand the type of people that would see this show and want to be on this show for the wrong reasons. As our good friend Andrew said, he's dating girls for all the wrong reasons. Who's to say people won't see this show, want to go on it just to take advantage of younger women and younger men? And unfortunately, I think when it comes to age, you can be naive. I think when you're younger, you are more vulnerable. You are more naive. Now, again, that does not go for every single person in every single scenario, but I know when I was 22, while that was only 2 years ago, I was definitely more naive and vulnerable than I am today. I think in your 20s especially, each year you grow more and more aware and gain more of a backbone for yourself to say, hey, that's predatory behavior and I don't want any part of it. I don't think every single person that is 22 has that backbone, has that understanding of what predatory behavior may look like. And I think Netflix is really taking advantage of people with this show. If you go on here and you're 22 years old, I mean, the age range for this season is 22 to 60. You're telling me a 22-year-old woman could date a 60-year-old man? And you think that's normal? Also, we have to talk about the fact that they are getting to know each other in such a short amount of time. This could also bring in another factor of love bombing. I mean, realistically, this show is just setting up for predators and love bombers' wet dreams, truly. But of course, I think two things can be true at once. I think we can sit here and have goofy conversations and make some jokes about a reality TV show while also having hard conversations about how this may not be the best idea and how controversial this truly is. And with that, I'm going to leave you for today. But again, this is only my second video on this channel, so please, any recommendations, any discussions, anything you want to talk about or see from me, please feel free to leave in the comments. Obviously, I am going to be interacting in there and listening to what everybody has to say. So I really appreciate anybody who took the time to watch this today, who takes the time to like the video, subscribe, or comment. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you stay safe and have a wonderful rest of your day, night, or morning.